I have a question for you. Given what happened in California day before yesterday, where Gavin Newsom won in a blowout against Larry Elder, a guy who is basically pitching what has become the standard Republican line, which is, we don't need no stinking masks, we don't need no stinking vaccines, we don't trust our election officials. If Republicans didn't win, it was fraud. Although Larry Elder, facing a 30% blowout, basically said, okay, I lost the election. God bless him for that, right? At least he acknowledged it. Although his website the day before the election had said it was election fraud was why he lost. But nonetheless, these Republican positions that are going to become absolutely essential in the next 6 months as, 2022 primary season, every single member of the U.S. House of Representatives is up for re-election next year. Every single member, 100% of them. And probably a majority of state elected officials across the country, state senators, state members of the House or Assembly or whatever they call it in their particular states, are up for re-election, and they face primary elections. And the primary elections typically happen mostly, next spring. And on the Republican side, to get through the primary election, they've got to do this whole, I'm with Trump and, no masks and no vaccines and right? And as I said when I was debating Jennifer in the previous hour, I believe that the reason why that is because they want Joe Biden to fail. They want the pandemic to continue. They want it to hurt our economy. Joe Biden, in fact, is going to address the nation in the next hour or so about this issue by way of trying to promote his $3.5 trillion over 10-year, $350 billion a year reconciliation package. And it's interesting, day before yesterday, he had private meetings with Kyrsten Sinema and with Joe Manchin. Nobody has said a word. Sinema's office said they were productive. Manchin's office hasn't said anything. And today, Biden's going to come out and pitch this. But in any case, the question is, how long before the GOP stops talking Trump because they realize that they're all going to end up like Larry Elder and starts talking like George W. Bush? In other words, goes back to this thing of, well, we're compassionate conservatives and we just want little government. We just want to privatize Medicare to make it more efficient. We just want to turn Social Security over to the big New York banks to increase its survivability, its viability. We just want to privatize all the nation's public schools because, for-profit does things better. How long before they start talking like that again instead of the crazy? I mean, just consider, what the Republicans have been doing in the last few months. Greg Prentice down in Florida was a major Trump guy. On Facebook, he was railing against COVID-19 restrictions. He was a software developer, but he had in the Tampa area, he headed up the local Republican Party's Election Integrity Committee, and he refused to get vaccinated. And he showed up at the hospital a couple of days ago, experiencing brain fog and having difficulty breathing, was put on a ventilator and died the next day. And 2 days after he died, according to the Tampa Bay Times, the people around him, or his Republican buddies, are claiming that he was killed by the hospital. Honest to God, on Facebook, is this a winning strategy for Republicans? On Facebook, this guy writes, Tampa General Hospital ER and ICU doctors are criminals and murderers. They intubate everyone and stick them on a ventilator for no reason. All capital letters, no reason. Just out of precaution, as the doctor told me, without consent from the family. Tampa General Hospital is evil. We lost Greg Prentice, a mentor to many in Hillsborough County, due to the engineered virus. Really? You think this is going to, I get it, there's the QAnon crazies, but you think this is going to go beyond that? And then, take this the step beyond this. In the middle of the pandemic, Mark Sumner writing about this over at Daily Kos, by the way, in the middle of a pandemic, his headline, in the middle of a pandemic, Republicans permanently stripped power from public health officials. And you just get these numbers. I mean, this is mind-boggling. Sumner starts out by saying, imagine that right after 9/11, when you had two buildings collapse, and then a third one a little later, fires and disasters. Imagine if Rudy Giuliani, the mayor at that point, had said, I'm going to shut down the fire department while the buildings were still on fire. Kaiser Health News, he notes, reports that in 26 states, Republicans, quote, took away powers state and local officials used to protect the public against infectious diseases. Now, these are authorities, these are powers, governmental powers that date back to the flu pandemic of 1918 and before. Sumner writes, now in over half the nation, Republicans have acted to permanently weaken the powers of public health officials. Mask mandates have been completely banned in some states, including Arkansas, where the masks were declared to be a burden on public health. Idaho gave county commissioners the veto power over public health orders. Kansas and Tennessee no longer allow health officials to order a school closed, no matter how dire the circumstances. Texas and Florida governors issued executive orders that stripped power from city and county officials and school boards and even private businesses to require the use of masks. 5 states are blocking masks from stopping COVID right now. 9 states have taken away the ability for anyone to order a mask mandate, no matter what the threat. In addition, Mark Sumner writes, 16 other states have taken away the authority of local health officials to issue such mandates or to require quarantines or to close businesses, schools, or public facilities. 17 states, Mark Sumner writes, made it illegal for either government agencies or private businesses to require proof of COVID vaccination. So how does this win elections for Republicans? What am I missing here? And if this takes down the Republican Party next year, and I think there's a good chance that there's going to be a lot of Republican losses next year, and not just because so many of their own voters have died, but because I think, Americans are waking up. You have over 60% support across the United States, enthusiastic support for Joe Biden's mask and vaccine mandates. If the Republican Party goes down in flames in 2022, are they going to double down on voter fraud? Are they going to continue doubling down on neo-fascism? Are they going to continue to try to take the United States in the same direction that Viktor Orban took Hungary, or Vladimir Putin took Russia, or Jair Bolsonaro is taking Brazil? Is that their strategy? Or is the GOP going to collapse? And if it collapses, what comes out of the ashes? My personal prediction, and I have been wrong on a lot of predictions, so this is just my personal opinion. I've been right a lot too. But my personal prediction is that the Republicans are going to get their asses kicked in the elections in 2022. And in 2023, in anticipation of the 2024 election, they're going to try to go back to Paul Ryan, John McCain, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, Republicanism, and maybe even re-embrace Liz Cheney. We'll see. I could be way out there. It looks right now like that's impossible. And in some ways, the GOP embrace, the ongoing GOP embrace of Trump and Trumpism is a good thing for the Democratic Party, because the more right-wing crazies like Larry Elder who get elected in the primaries between this fall and the end of next spring, the more Democrats will be able to run ads like Rachel Bitkofer's Strike PAC is running. I retweeted one of them this morning. You can see it on my Twitter feed. It's just brilliant, an absolutely brilliant ad. The more you're going to see those kinds of ads popping up, only customized to individual Republicans. So is this going to work? And then I suppose the flip side of this is the Democrats' strategy of trying to get this pandemic under control and trying to lower drug prices going to work. We just had, Bernie was tweeting about this yesterday. It's what caught my eye. And then I saw the piece in the New York Times last night. And, that a congressman from Portland, or for the Portland area, Kurt Schrader, he's our one of the 3 Democrats on the committee, by one vote, this committee could have passed legislation that would allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. But Schrader's been taking money from Big Pharma, and so he screwed the whole thing up. And it's putting the entire Biden plan, the entire Biden $3.5 trillion plan, in jeopardy. Because our sellout Democratic congressman here from Oregon decided that the money from Big Pharma was more important to him than this just makes me crazy. I tweeted him yesterday. I said, Representative Schrader, please tell me why were you the vote? I mean, all the Republicans were opposed to Medicare negotiating drug prices, but Democrats? So, will the Democratic Party take back the party? But I think more importantly, how long before the GOP starts talking about compassionate conservatism again? What is the future of the Republican Party? Are they going to continue, trashing vaccines and masks? It doesn't seem to be working for them. We'll be back. It's 17 minutes past the hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Stick around.